Hey guys, this is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery. This is Hump Day Hangouts for episode 509 for August 14th, 2024. I'm apparently by myself, so bear with me while I get this redirect set up and all that stuff. I don't know why my partners aren't here, but I can't leave you guys waiting. So just bear with me for a second and I'll get this finished set up. I know why, because I didn't paste the right fucking link. That's my fault. So give me a second, guys. I'll bring them in. God damn it. Try it again. There it is. All right. So, anyways, this is episode 509, and we've got a bunch of questions to get through. Partners should be coming in a minute. We'll kind of go through the normal announcements and that kind of stuff. And DHA programs coming up again, guys. Phase one for the second round is coming up. So we've already got, I think, 6 people that have scheduled their or paid to have the interview or application call with me, which is nothing heavy. It's kind of a brief call. So uh, just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I think our cutoff for that is going to be this Friday.
Yep.
Adam, I had to get started because apparently I didn't post the link. I
No worries. I
hit
saw the
Control V
V
and it
and
was
was
just
like, I
V.
think Bradley forgot the control part of Control V.
So I got
Oh,
started. It was a little
yeah,
bit
no worries.
sloppy, but
Keep going,
whatever.
man.
So I was just talking about the DHA program, the applications for the next phase around next round of phase one. So I think our cutoff is on Friday. Um, if you guys are interested in that, just complete the form. Adam, if you want to post that or maybe read through the G doc first to take it, determine if it's something you're interested in. And if so, then just complete the application call form. And as soon as we receive payment, we'll send you the note of the link to schedule the call with me. It's just a 15-minute call. I just want to jump on it, have a quick chat with you, make sure it's a good fit. I don't do any hard sales tactics or anything like that. I just want to make sure that you're committed, that you have the resources, the availability, all of that kind of stuff in order to go through the program. So that's what that's about. Other than that, I'll turn it back over to you, Adam.
Cool. Well, I was just posting the links to the survey, and I will grab the links to the Google Doc as well shortly. But I assume you let everyone know this is episode 509, and today
Yes,
is
sir.
the 14th of August. So yeah, I just really wanted to touch base on DHA since, as Bradley has already gone over, the application process for that ends on Friday, and then Bradley's going to start training on the 27th. So time is of the essence. Next week, you can have the call with Bradley, or rather, if you sign up and you decide to book the call, you will have a call next week with Bradley. So really want to make sure that we focus on that. We get people in and let them know the deadlines, because this isn't something where you can like, oh, I missed out last week and I want to get started with DHA. If you do that, you're going to be waiting probably at least 12 weeks, probably more like 15 weeks. So if you want to get started in on this and have your prospecting system up and running before the end of the year, then this is kind of the time to join. So if you're watching the replay, you can check out the chat. You'll see the link. Just make sure you fill that out, get your name in, and then you can get the call booked with Bradley. So other than that, guys, I didn't really have any other announcements. I just want to make sure we told people about DHA with the deadline. And other than that, I think we're good to go to hop into questions unless you guys have anything.
I don't have anything else, and we do have
All
quite a few
good. Let's
questions.
do it.
All right.
How about let's do it. I'll grab the screen, kind of jump right in. All right, great. So the first one that I see is a question about structure, how to format. So I'll start reading through this and I'll try to get through this. I offer a single service in a small country targeting the entire country and 3 specific cities with search volume. My goal is to rank for service plus country and service plus city for all 3 cities within the country. I'm considering 2 site architectures. Site brand only, internal link to service page. I'm just kind of reading through this, guys. I like the URL format of number 1 better, the kind of first option better. I always like having the URL structure kind of show the hierarchy of how you've arranged content and pages on the site. I think it's logical that way, especially if it's not over optimized. I see still a lot of SEOs that will squeeze like, the keyword into the URL. And if it's a physical silo structure, which is what you're looking at here versus kind of like a virtual silo structure, the difference is, guys, the permalink. So the URL, like if you're in WordPress, for example, it would be the category / post name permalink structure. If that's what would be considered like the physical silo, which is where you see how the pages are connected and arranged within the silo in the URL. You can it has the same SEO benefit or effect, at least it did years ago when I did a specific test on that. It didn't affect performance if you did what I call a virtual silo, which is where it's just the post name permalink structure, which means you omit any part of the hierarchy of how the content is stacked into categories, subcategories, or posts, etc., from the URL to where it just shows the last page slug after the .com or the .net, whatever the TLD or domain extension is, if that makes sense. So that's called a virtual silo, and it's the same thing. It at least it performed the same when I did a specific test on that, but that was several years ago. But I've always still preferred to have kind of the hierarchy showing so a physical silo structure showing it in the URL, especially if you have short and succinct URLs that are really just hitting the essence or the entity of each one of those kind of levels within the URL. So instead of squeezing like I said, sometimes I'll see to this day where the SEO will ask me to audit a site or something, and I'll look at it and it'll be the keyword 3 times in the URL. And it's like, what the hell are you thinking? Like that, it's not necessary to do that anymore. Many years ago, we used to do that. It was for a reason because it worked. But now that's over optimization. It makes the URL stupid long, and I don't like that. I like short, succinct URLs that really basically hit on the entities that you want and very logical to the structure. So I like the first one better. I've not done any type of SEO or tried to build a site that is targeting an entire country like what you're describing here. So I don't know, without some testing, obviously, how it would perform, but I do like that kind of format better, to be clear. What do you think about these structures? Which is better? And is there any error? If any error, and then point them out? No, like I said, it's just the difference between category / post name or physical silos versus virtual silos, which would be post name only. And I've not seen any difference when I did a specific test on which performs better or the other. They both performed equally as well. But like I said, more of a preference thing for me. I like it to display in the URL, if that makes sense. As long as it's short and succinct. If it's stupid long, then just go with post name. I like short URLs better than long URLs. Let's put it that way. And again, I don't know if that has much to do with SEO or if it's just more of a preference thing. Okay, so in either case, I think that would work, but I like this one better. All right, that was a little bit easier than I thought it was going to be. Let's move to the next one before I start thinking about something else to say. Let's see. The next one, same person asking the question, what is the significance of embedding map links on local pages to top sites, neighborhoods, and things to do in location? Don't you think that is beside the intent of the searcher? Yeah, it is, but that's why I put it at the bottom. Like, does that satisfy the intent of the search? No, it doesn't. But it's about referencing relevant location entities within that page. That's what that's for. And so I've not tested with omitting that. I know not since kind of the algorithm has shifted as much as it had over the last couple of years now. There used to be several years ago, and I actually just did an audit for a client or a link building client today. And well, I audited last night, but I recorded the video today, and I saw that there was on that particular website that I was auditing or project that I was auditing, he had a bunch of what were called geo pages, which were just pages about points of interest or geographically significant locations, stores, historical monuments or historical sites and things like that within a particular geographic region, right? And so it used to be several years ago where there were plugins and things like that in local SEO, we would go out and publish orphaned pages or posts on the site that would be referencing points of interest within the geographic area that the company was targeting. But they weren't they were separate pages or posts that were, and I say orphaned because they weren't shown in the navigation menu. You could find them via the sitemap, but they weren't shown anywhere in any of the navigation menus or anything like that. But we wanted Google to be aware of them. And that had an influence on Maps coverage area or Google Business Profile performance in map search to where you could get it to expand kind of the proximity with which Google would show the GBP. And so there was a reason that we did it. And that was to try to push that maps expansion out as far as we could. But what I found was after about, I don't know, a couple of years ago, when the algorithm shifted away from being a keyword-based algorithm to, an entity-based algorithm, that I found that really had no effect unless you had in the pages or posts that were set up specifically to target points of interest, you had some sort of tie back to the products or services that the company provided. Like, in other words, if they were orphan pages that had no direct connection to the products or services that company provides, then what is the purpose of those pages? We did it for SEO, I get it. But the algorithm, as it advances, learns how to overcome things like that are, we use to manipulate search. And so if there wasn't a direct connection or relation between the geographic, relevance, points of interest, whatever, and the tie back to the company, like the products or services that the company provides, then I saw that it had basically no effect whatsoever. And so it was like kind of useless. And so I stopped doing it. I stopped using those types of plugins that would automatically generate those pages, at least semi-automatically generate those pages, etc. And so instead, I started testing with just inserting geo-relevance data into a service page or a locate, not a service page, I'm sorry, a location page. So a page that I have optimized to target, keyword or topic plus city, keyword, topic, or category plus city. So in other words, something that I am looking to rank and that I want a visitor to land on. It wasn't used specifically for manipulating search. It was where I have location pages anyways that I'm targeting. And so now it's just adding geo-relevance that is specific to that particular location that page is optimized for into that page and referencing specific entities. That is the whole point. And so by using Google's data to go search for top sites or things to do in whatever the city name is, it's going to pop that carousel. And those are going to be Google business profiles for points of interest that are within that specific geographic region or nearby anyway. Sometimes it's, especially if it's a small area, it might not have a lot of points of interest in that particular area, but stuff that's adjacent to it, nearby, et cetera. And so Google understands, especially because you're referencing Google business profiles, Google Maps, profiles essentially, then Google understands what they are and that they're relevant as far as just adding some geographic relevance to that page. And so you're right, it doesn't satisfy the intent of the searcher, it's for SEO. But it is specifically because we're referencing entities that are in Google, like in Google. So that's why I like to use the images too. So for example, let me just give you an example. We go take a look at this site. If I can spell, Louis. I can't spell to save my life right now. If we go in and we'll just take a look at one of these pages, and you'll see that down here, now I don't do the neighborhoods anymore. I do that just via text, and we don't link out to anything. This was one of the very first sites where I started testing with this, just to be clear. So now, like, I'll show you a more kind of current build. Here's a build that was just done. I haven't even actually submitted this yet. The Search Console. Here's a new one that one of my VA that's in training to deploy these sites. She just deployed this site for me, but we'll go in here and take a look at this one. So here's an example of how we're referencing the neighborhoods now. We're not adding links out to that. We're not trying to grab neighborhood photos or images from neighborhoods or none of that. That was extremely tedious. And in a lot of neighborhoods, you couldn't find photos. So it was a real pain in the ass. I found that we were able to achieve similar results by just listing the neighborhoods. But this type of stuff here, it's still important. So for example, if we click to open that Google business profile for Downtown Mall in Charlottesville, Virginia, you can see where it's in relation to the center of that city. And you can see that that's the image. Google knows that that image is associated with Downtown Mall, this location or point of interest that is in Charlottesville, right? And so this is a point of interest that adds geographic relevance to this page, but that's why we put it at the bottom. Now, I've not tested specifically recently with omitting that and see if it still has the same kind of SEO benefit. It's worth testing. I just haven't had the bandwidth or the time to be able to set up tests for that as well. So I'm still for now continuing to include it. But the point is, these are specific mentions. And remember, Google can read these images and it knows that these images are associated or images that are part of the GBP for each one of these location entities, so to speak, or Google business profiles, points of interest, whatever you want to call them. And so that's the reason why I do that, is to add some relevance to that without having to do those stupid pages that are, orphaned type posts or pages that are referencing points of interest that have no tie back to the products or services that the company provides. That's clear. This doesn't have any tie back, but it's just kind of like a mention on the page. And the page here is optimized to tell a visitor, hey, we provide these services in Charlottesville, in these neighborhoods. Oh, and by the way, here's some cool stuff to do here. So it's just about adding some additional relevance to the page. That's all. Okay. It's a good question. Another one. How do you use posts in a local site? Are the posts the city pages or service pages or what? I would use posts in a WordPress site as typically the city. There's the city pages or location pages, supporting location pages via posts. And that's, it's kind of just a preference thing. You can do some pretty cool things with posts because of the RSS feeds. That's the only reason why. I don't use WordPress anymore though, so I don't do that. Okay, just to be clear, I use High Level for my local lead gen sites or LLG sites for a number of reasons. They're easier to maintain. There's no updates. They're a lot less likely to get hacked. They perform well. Easily duplicatable because you just push the snapshot into another sub account. Boom, you've got your whole site template already built. So I use high level sites, not WordPress sites. But when I was using WordPress exclusively, I like to use posts for the city supporting location pages, period. I would use posts. Hopefully that's clear. He says, I am personally not comfortable with posts as they create a category page and tag page. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't create a category page. They don't create a tag page. They create a tag page if you add tags. But if you don't add tags to the post, they don't create tags or tag pages. And you place a post into a category. By default, there's one category on WordPress, which is, what is it? Uncategorized, right? But you can create categories, which if you are creating top level pages, create corresponding categories and then redirect the category page to the corresponding top level page, if that makes sense. And then you place the post into the appropriate category. And that creates through the taxonomy structure, which is like the internal linking, like on the back end of WordPress. Then those posts are flowing through the taxonomy structure up through to the top level because of the redirect from the category page. So the category archive URL, U301 redirect that to the corresponding page on the site. So regular WordPress page. That's how you do it, right? For local, because it's not likely that you need a category archive, like an index page, to show the posts that are published into that particular category, because it's not a blog, it's a local site. And so typically you don't need to have a category archive page. You do for blogs, it makes sense to have that, because if you want to find the posts that are within a particular category, then it would be nice to have that. But for a local site, that's not usually necessary. So for top level pages, as an example, let's just give an example. So let's say that I've got 4 top level service pages: tree removal, tree trimming, tree care, and stump removal. If I were to have categories, you know what? Let's just talk about, if all I was going to do was location posts, which is how I would normally do it anyways, then I would do it via location, not services. So then in this particular example here, I would have a WordPress category for Charlottesville. Okay. Then I would redirect the Charlottesville category URL to the Charlottesville page, location page, which is what we're at here. Or does that make sense? So if I was going to be doing posts, location posts, then it would be probably because I wanted to add them underneath like a county level category, if that makes sense. So typically I wouldn't be doing posts unless it would be kind of a complex silo structure. So let me make sure let me get into a notepad file here, guys, so I can show you what I mean visually. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's just use this as an example, okay, as a site. If this were on WordPress, and if I was trying to cover something outside of just Albemarle County, so this is the way that I've been teaching how to build local lead gen sites recently, what I found to be the best performing sites are hyper-local sites. Whereas what I've been doing for tree service stuff is optimizing the homepage for the county. And then all of the service area or location pages are locations within that county. That makes sense. Okay. And so the homepage is optimized for the county, which is the broadest location entity for this site. And then the service pages or service area pages, location pages, whatever you want to call them, service area or location pages, are cities that are within that county. Okay. And so, but if I were to do a multi-county site, as an example, which a lot of tree service contractors do serve multiple counties. Okay. And in that case, like if I was working on a client site, then even though Albemarle County is already addressed there, I would do an this is how I would do it. I would have a category for Albemarle County, right? Like that. And then this would be a WordPress category. Hopefully this makes sense, guys. Okay. Then the location, I would have a corresponding page that would be like a navigational page. So let me just say this would be a navigational page, which would be, sorry, this without the category slug, because it would be a normal page, right? So I would go in and set up a regular WordPress page, and then I would set up the category, which is under WordPress posts categories. And then I would do a 301 redirect from this URL to this URL. Okay. If I had a complex silo structure where I'm targeting multiple counties, I like a simpler site build. They tend to perform better too, in my experience. So that's why I'm building hyper local sites now that are targeting the county on the homepage. Or, you know, if it's a multi-county, it could be you target the region on the homepage that those counties fall within, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure what the region is for, I think it's Central Virginia, but in more northern Virginia, like it would be Northern Virginia. That's the actual region, Northern Virginia. Okay. And so maybe I would optimize for Northern Virginia if I was doing that. But what I'm saying is, then what I would do is have for the individual city posts as posts, I would have this. It would be Charlottesville. Right. So this would be the actual post level. So that doesn't create categories. We would create categories and then redirect them to the appropriate service, or excuse me, the appropriate page, the corresponding page. And then I would publish a post and place it in the appropriate category, if that makes sense. And the only reason why is because then I would have a separate RSS feed for Albemarle County. And I would also have any tags. You can, if you add tags, then it does create page for each tag. But I don't like to use tags unless you know what you're doing. Because tags can get you into trouble because it can create duplication, redundancy, etc. If that makes sense. So to answer your question, and by the way, if you're not comfortable, then don't. Like, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's that simple. It says, well, I'm not comfortable using posts. Okay, then don't use posts. Use pages. It's fine. It makes no difference. There's just some things that you can do with posts that you can't do with pages. Well, there is a WordPress plugin like tag. You can categories for pages, tags for pages. There are plugins that will give you the taxonomy functionality to regular pages, if that makes sense. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is I don't like to use WordPress anymore at all anyway. I prefer to build hyper-local sites. They tend to perform better, according to my testing. Okay. So that's why I would rather, even if a contractor client comes to me and says, look, I service these 3 counties, I'd say, okay, I'm going to build 3 separate sites, one for each county. They can all be branded for the same brand, basically, but I would still have 3 separate sites because they tend to perform better this way, according to my testing. Hopefully that's clear. Right. Okay. Is it okay if I just use pages? Yeah, there's no difference whatsoever. It's just if you want to have some of the additional functionality. And by the way, like I said, you can add things like categories and tags to pages too, using a plugin that enables that option. Okay. But if you're not planning on doing any of those additional things with RSS feeds and syndicating posts out to, Web2s and all that kind of stuff, then no, it's absolutely not necessary to use posts at all. Just go with pages and child pages. If you're going to build a silo structure, you can still build pages and child pages to build that structure. that's clear. Okay, another one. 4 or 5 in a row. Do I need to have supporting pages, blog posts for a local biz website, like how to or what is terms? You get the point. If so, I don't think so. I mean, I found that right now with local type sites, that having too much content can actually hurt the site. And I mean that because there's a lot of cannibalization or competing pages. I'm not seeing near as much cannibalization now, but I am still seeing a lot of competing pages, which where means that there are pages or posts on the site that are competing with top level pages because they're targeting search queries that are similar to what the top level pages should be ranking for. If you do need supporting content for whatever reason, then it might make sense to publish those. But then that's where, again, a proper kind of silo structure makes sense, because then I would want to place supporting content as posts, if using WordPress, in the appropriate categories that are, the category is redirected, the category URL has a redirect to the top level page. So that when you place a post in the appropriate category, again, through that taxonomy, internal linking, like behind the scenes in the back end of code of WordPress, it's kind of flowing that relevance up to the top level page. Well, it flows to the top level category, but the category page is redirected to the top level page, if that makes sense. So, again, just from my experience in the last many months, really, is client sites where we used to do blogging all the time, like for all my clients. That was part of our standard operating procedure, as part of our deliverables on a monthly basis was, depending on what level of retainer the client was on with me, we always did a minimum of 1 blog post per week. And, but in some cases, as many as 3 blog posts per week. And so what I found is, like, I've still got clients today that have been with me for 10 years. And for years, we were blogging 1, 2, or 3 posts per week. And over the last many months, 6, 8 months or whatever, I've actually been going through and pruning. So moving to trash, if it's a WordPress site, moving to trash large blocks of posts, like 200 at a time. No kidding. Because what I found is that there's a lot of, and this is kind of an interesting concept that I was introduced to a couple of years ago, called impression burn. But one of the things that I would recommend, like if you guys are having sites that have a lot of content and they're just not performing well, is go look at Search Console, and you can go sort by pages, and then, sort by impressions, and make sure that you check for average ranking position and clicks. Clicks and impressions are usually always by default checked anyways, but you can also check for average ranking position. And then you sort by impressions, and then you can take a look at the descending order of impressions and see, like, the pages that are getting a lot of impressions but 0 click activity, like, prune those from the site, because they're not helping. If they're not generating any activity from search, then now you could look at analytics and see, are you driving traffic to those pages from, an outside source outside of Google, like through social media, or something like that. Then if the pages are receiving engagement, they're receiving visitors, which you can tell from analytics, then fine, leave the page. But if you're looking at Search Console data and you can see that you're getting a lot of impressions for a page or post on a site and has 0 click activity from search, then what is the purpose of that page? Especially if you have the average ranking position checked in Search Console and you see that it's on, it's a page that's in position 79. Let's just throw that number out there as an example. If it's in position 79 and it's getting a lot of impressions but 0 clicks, it's because it's in position 79 and it's not getting any clicks. So what is the purpose of that page? Is it useful to the site? Is it helpful to the site? I'm telling you, no, it's not, because unless unless it's ranking high enough in search, getting an impression at a high enough position to receive a click from search, then what is the point of that page? Well, I'm trying to add topical authority to the site. Well, I'm telling you, with local right now, that kind of stuff can cause problems, because if you've got a bunch of pages on the site that are getting impressions, but they're ranking very, very poorly. In other words, they're way, 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 way down in the search results because they're not optimized well, blah, blah, blah. Then what's the point of the page? How is it actually helping the site? It's creating crawl resistance. It's requiring Google to use more processing power to crawl the site. And what I found is, by trimming that down and making the sites as efficient as possible, as Cecilia, one of our mastermind members, had so eloquently said at one time, reduce crawl resistance. Google is rewarding sites that are efficient right now, at least in local search. Again, that's all I do is local. So I don't know how this applies to anything else. But in local search right now, if you can make the site efficient to where you can convey to Google very clearly with the least amount of processing power required, who the business is, what they do, and where they do it, Google is rewarding that. And so I found that sites that I had hundreds and sometimes well over 1,000 posts for clients, that just by trimming or removing that content, that the sites start to perform better, if that's clear. So why I say that is because if you're going to be doing blogs as kind of a deliverable so that you can charge accordingly, et cetera, for the client, fine, do it on external blogs. That's what we do now. Like, in other words, if we're going to build branded and supporting assets for the business, which we always do. So like a Web 2.0 blog network, WordPress, Tumblr, Weebly, Jimdo, Wix, all of those different kinds of Blogger, it doesn't matter. G sites, Google sites, sites.google.com, etc. Why not use the external branded blogs as the blogging platforms, right? Publish well thought out, well optimized content on the Google site, Blogger, WordPress, Weebly, etc. Use the external blogs that then have links that then are pointing back to the money site so that you can build kind of relevance and authority to each of those branded blogs, but you don't have potentially competing pages on the same domain. That makes sense. It's supporting content on external domains. And I found that to be a more effective way to do things now, at least for local and service area type businesses than the kind of stuff that I work in. Hopefully that's clear. Okay. If so, how do you silo them? Can you explain in regards to your Felling Pro or Grim Reaper Tree Services site? Yeah, no, I would do that on an external blog now. Like I said, I would do that on a Blogger blog or something like that, where I would have a thorough post about pruning trees, for example, and then that would link back to the tree trimming page or the specific city page. Because if you say like how to prune trees in Louisville, then I could either link to the tree trimming page or the Louisville page or both from that external blog post that's published on a branded asset, which is an extension of the brand anyway. Is that clear? That's how I would do it. I would, because again, this is a high level site. I build all my sites on high level now. And so high level blogs aren't as easy to manage as they are in WordPress, but high level sites are way easier to manage than WordPress sites are, if that makes sense. So I would rather just blog on external blogs than have to try to do that into a high level site. These are, once they're set up, man, you never have to touch these damn sites again. That's what I love about them. There's no logging in, there's no updates, none of that. They're just there. It's beautiful. Okay. Good question. Andrew, what's up, Andrew? He says, for service-based businesses, do you recommend adding their services to the GBP under the products features? Yeah, I do. I do, because it's just another way to add more relevance, and you can add an image, which is relevant as well. And remember, Google's reading entities through it from images now too. So it's a way to add more relevance to the profile. So absolutely, if you have the option to have products, because not every GBP category gives you that option, but if you do have that option, you can also add in there like tree trimming, tree removal, stump grinding, etc., and then have an image that's relevant to each one of those, and then add an optimized description. And for pricing, I think you could just put pricing varies, or just put varies in the pricing field or something like that, and or free estimate or something like that in the pricing field. But yeah, absolutely, I think that's worth doing. Okay. Okay, another one. When using Wikipedia for page structure to figure out our heading structure for a service page, what exactly are we doing? No, you're just trying to identify the entities within Wikipedia. So the entries or topics within Wikipedia that are relevant to your industry. So that's why I talk about going to Google and searching with a Wikipedia appended to the search queries that are relevant to your industry. And what Google does is we'll sort Wikipedia entities or entries so any page on Wikipedia that has its own kind of it's an entity, then that when you search in Google with Wikipedia for search queries associated with your industry with Wikipedia appended to them, then Google is going to return Wikipedia pages sorted by relevance as they relate to that seed query. Okay, so now you understand the entities according to Google that are relevant, or how Google understands the industry that you're working in. And then you can start to play around with those entities to try to figure out what gives you the best performance for search with the least amount of pages, content, etc. That's the whole point. Is when topic and category optimization, when you figure it out and you get it right in your particular industry, then you can rank the page that's optimized for the top level topic or category term that has the broadest keyword coverage without the keywords needing to be explicitly referenced on the page. That's the whole point. No, old school SEO, traditional SEO was that you had to have, in this case, tree removal times Louisville, tree trimming Louisville, land clearing Louisville, like a separate page optimized for that keyword because we were trying to hammer Google over the head with the keyword that we wanted to rank for. We don't have to do that anymore because if you optimize for the topic or the category, so the top level entity term, then there are a group of search queries associated with that topic or category. So you don't even need to reference you don't even have to have the specific keywords on the page for that page to be able to rank for those search queries because Google already understands that that topic or category has all those search queries that are associated with it. So that's why I recommend doing it that way, is trying to identify what does Google understand based upon Wikipedia entities about the industry that you're working in. And then you have to play around with those. And by the way, look at Google business categories. You can see how Google created their categories from Wikipedia entities. And so it can give you clues. And what I talk about is when you're looking at the Wikipedia pages, look at the structure of the pages to determine how are the subcategories or subtopics. So consider a Wikipedia entity a topic, okay? When you're looking at the structure of the Wikipedia page, you can see subtopics within the page. That will give you clues as to how you would optimize your product or service pages or location pages, whatever, in the headings and subheadings throughout the page, proper HTML hierarchy. That's what I'm talking about. Looking at internal links from Wikipedia, from one topic to another within Wikipedia. Look at how those Wikipedia is a master at internal linking. So take a look at that. It gives you clues as to how you should be interlinking pages within the site that you're building. That's all I'm saying, guys. If you understand by doing the exercise that I've demonstrated many, many times, that I just described once again, it can give you clues as to how Google understands the topics within the industries that you're working in. And it can help you to structure your pages better. And then the internal linking, which helps dictate the overall architecture of the site. That's why I always say page structure, site structure, and internal linking. But site structure and internal linking are really kind of parallel, because I always start with page structure because that's what Google ranks for search queries is pages, not websites. But a website's authority and how it's optimized and how it's interlinked with other pages on the site all has an influence on the page's ability to rank. So I always want to start with page level optimization first. And then through that, I'm going to determine what I need to be linking to. That's internal linking. And that helps me determine how I'm going to build the other pages and connect them on the site. So that's overall site structure or architecture. Hopefully that's clear. Okay. Use the same keywords in our headings no. Again, guys. So let me demonstrate this again. Okay. All right. We're going to go over to Google and we're going to search for tree service Charlottesville. Okay. So we're going to come in here and we're going to go into maps. What are the Google business categories here, guys? It's tree service, right? Okay. So we already know the top level category for this project or for this type of a industry is going to be tree service. Okay. We already got that. So we already know the top level category. Categories are easy because we can go to Google Maps and search for keywords related to the industries that we're working in. And we can clearly see the categories that are related to that industry based upon how these are optimized, right? Let me do it actually over here because I have the plugin that's going to show the additional categories as well. So we'll do that again over here. Okay. So tree service in Chrome, because I've got plugins in Chrome that I don't in Firefox. All right. So in just a minute, we're going to see the categories that are associated with these, right? So we see tree service and now it's arborist service. For the longest time, it was arborist and tree surgeon, but it was updated recently to arborist service. And those are damn near synonymous with each other. I consider the tree service industry a single category business, a single service category. Even though there's two Google business categories, they're both basically interchangeable. There are some slight differences, but they're damn near interchangeable. Okay. So I consider this a single category industry. Okay. Now, some also do things like landscaping or snow removal and things like that. So you might see that in some cases. Excavating. That's also why on Tree Care HQ, I have landscapers and excavators also, because that's kind of common that tree service guys will also do some excavation type work and some landscaping type work. But mostly it's going to be these two categories. So it's easy to very quickly identify, but let's just use these categories that we can see here. We can see the types of how Google created. We can start to understand how Google created these categories from Wikipedia topics. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go back to Google and we're going to search for tree service Wikipedia. Okay. I know I've shared this before, but I'm going to go through it again. All right. So we can start to see the entities associated with that search query, tree service, according to sorted. So Wikipedia entities sorted by Google based upon how relevant they are to the search query here, according to Google, not Wikipedia, according to Google. Okay. So we start extracting these entities, right? We can pull these in here. So this one, and those top four are all relevant. Okay. So I would start to collect that. If you change this, let's change this word to tree removal. Okay. What do we see? Tree care, felling. You see arborist, arboriculture again. Now we start seeing some other things that are more type pruning and trimming services, tree topping. But you can see there, tree stump, right? We can, again, if we change this again to tree trimming, we'll see pruning is going to come up, right? Tree care, then pruning, then arborist, blah, blah, blah. So the point that I'm trying to make is we start extracting the entities first. So open up a spreadsheet, put the seed search query in the top, and then pull out the entities and list them in the same column underneath, right? So you just go through, and for tree trimming, I'd have that at the top of a column. And then I would go tree care, pruning, arborist, and I would start pasting those in so that now I know how Google is sorting the Wikipedia entities based upon that seed search query. Okay. But then as far as like, okay, if we know now, for example, we see that this has arborist service, right? We see tree service or arborist service. Well, how was that category actually created? Like, why did Google choose tree service when we can see that there's not a specific entity for tree service, right? It was tree care. Let's go back to that, just that one for now. Tree service, Wikipedia. It's tree care, right? Okay. But what tree service is actually tree, Wikipedia, and service, Wikipedia. But service has multiple meanings depending on which context it is used. The context in which we would be talking about for a tree service or an arborist service would be service economics. A service is an act or use for which a consumer company or government is willing to pay. So tree service is talking about tree and services like, somebody's willing to pay to have tree care work done. So tree service is really a kind of a combination between tree or tree care and service to make tree service. Okay. Arborist service, again, very similar. It's going to be the arborist entity combined with service to create arborist service. And that's saying arborist, these are the functions that an arborist provides. An arborist service means that this is a service. An arborist service means that it is a professional that provides services for hire that an arborist performs. Does that make sense? So it's why I bring that up is because I discovered, and again, it was kind of by accident, that, and here's an example. Well, we'll just look up maintenance Wikipedia. Once I kind of started testing with this kind of a concept, I found that tree maintenance has broad coverage, the broadest coverage in the tree service industry, right? The top level Google business category is tree service. So I always optimize the SEO titles for tree service plus city for my location pages. But in the H1, I always now optimize for tree maintenance. So what I recommend and what I've been trying to teach forever is identify, and you can start by using Google business categories to start to try to learn how Google understands the industry by searching for the keywords within the Google business categories, plus Wikipedia appended to them, and start extracting the entities. And then you start going through the entities and reading the first paragraph or the opening section of the Wikipedia pages to understand the meaning of that particular, the broad general meaning of that particular entity. Plus, you can find synonyms, oftentimes like things that are considered synonymous with that top level entity or topic term. Plus, again, you can start to identify like, what does Google understand about this entity or this topic, not just in how it relates to that particular business, but what other meanings does maintenance have? Like, I didn't know that maintenance remember, I've shared this before, but if you go to repairs, Wikipedia, repairs, click on it again, repairs equals maintenance. But maintenance involves functional checks, which means inspection, and inspections further down on the page. So inspections, servicing, repairing, or replacing. So repairs equals maintenance, but maintenance is much broader than repairs, if that's clear. And so in the tree service industry, like I said, once I started finding these entities that were related with the industry, then I just started playing around with combining topics or entity terms in testing and seeing and looking to see like, how does this perform, or what are the synonyms according to Google when I combine these two terms and perform a search for that particular new phrase that I created from separate entities. How does Google understand that? What does Google think about that? And I found that tree maintenance has the broadest topic coverage of any combination of entities related with the trees in the tree service business. So that's why I always optimize for the SEO, or excuse me, the Google business category in the SEO title, and in the top level topic term in the H1, because basically the Google business category and the topic term should be very closely related, congruent with each other, but it's a way of restating one or the other without duplicating, if that makes sense. And so that's why, again, you'll see like even the Louisville Felling Pro site, if we go back over there, if it's still showing, yeah, you'll see that these pages were optimized differently, because this is one of the very first sites where I started testing with topic and category optimization. And this is when I first learned that tree maintenance had the broadest topic coverage. And so I optimized the SEO title for tree maintenance on this build. And then I was doing tree service in the H1. But what I found was it produces the same performance, regardless of whether you optimize for the category term in the SEO title and the topic in the H1 or vice versa. It doesn't affect the performance at all. It performs equally as well. Well, the reason why I like to, now my newer builds, I optimize for tree service in the SEO title, and then the top level topic term, which is tree maintenance in the H1, is because I want tree service to appear in the search results when a searcher is searching. Because for a human, a consumer that is looking for tree services, tree maintenance, it might not register to them. I was in the tree service business for 10 freaking years before I knew that tree maintenance had this type of a relation to tree services. And so if a visitor goes to Google and searches for tree service Charlottesville, and a top level page comes up, a page comes up in the search results that in the SEO title, so the meta title that shows in the search results, that blue tag, right, that's going to say tree maintenance, they might pass over that and click through to something else that says tree service because it's more familiar. It's more recognizable to them. And so I can still achieve the same broad coverage, ranking gains, ranking performance from a page by optimizing the H1 instead for that topic term. And that way the SEO title has I don't know what just happened there, but the SEO title has the kind of what's familiar to the searcher, what they're, kind of what they were looking for, if that makes sense. Now, tree maintenance still would satisfy that query, but to the searcher, they might pass over something that has in the search results, tree maintenance is the title, because they might not recognize that tree maintenance is synonymous with tree service or tree pruning or tree trimming or arborist service or stump grinding. That's why I do it, because tree service is the SEO title and tree maintenance has the broadest coverage. Bear with me 1 minute. I'll just pull this up just to kind of show that one more time. Okay, so this is that document where I started showing, and this keyword here has the broadest coverage, as you can see. So by combining the top level Google business category and the top level topic term, I can get that one page to rank for all the search queries. even if the particular search query is not specifically referenced on the page. That's the point of it. Okay. Okay. So anyway, by the way, I can give you guys the framework and tell you the process in which I use to determine this kind of stuff, but then it requires testing, guys. Unfortunately, we're in the SEO business. You know, you're going to have to test in order to figure out what the best performing configuration is in your specific industry or industries that you work in. I'm still doing testing today in the tree service industry. I've been at this for over 2 years now and still finding new ways to optimize these better and help them to perform better. Okay. Good questions. Moving on. 2 more to go. We might get done on time today. Paul says, hey, Bradley, I've been testing your site structure, page structure, and it seems to be improving my site SERPs. My question is this. If you have a client in a service industry, what keyword or topic would you focus on for the homepage? The broadest term possible. The homepage should state who you are, what you do, and where you do it in the broadest terms possible that are relevant. Okay. So let me pause again. Okay, so here's my audit documents that I use as the template whenever I prepare an audit. And we've got this whole section right here on page structure. Right under it is the first element under the on-page optimization part of the analysis for the audit. Okay, because there's 4 components: entity, on page for the self-hosted site, on page for the GBP, and then off page, which is in this part of the audit is just looking at backlinks. And so those are the 4 kind of elements or components that we're going to audit whenever I do an audit, because those are what I found to be kind of the biggest. These are the optimization points that provide the biggest performance gains with the least amount of effort. Okay. And so the page structure, when I talk about this at homepage, brand, CTA, region, what I mean here is you want to state, and this again, semantic triplet format, which is subject, object, predicate, essentially who you are, what you do, where you do it. There's 3 entities referenced there: brand, product or service, location. And so on the homepage, if you think about it, guys, first of all, always lead with the brand name. It's the homepage of the brand, so it should always lead with the brand name. Full stop, or else you get assholes like me that'll go out and poach traffic from your clients, because we can optimize a page on a website for their brand better than their own homepage is optimized for their brand. And then we can outrank them with an external website for their own branded search. Okay, that's what Mike Martin's brand jacking is all about. And it's brilliant. And it's true because so many SEOs optimize for a keyword on the homepage instead of the brand. And that's precisely how there's people like Mike Martin and me that are going out and poaching traffic from clients for branded searches, because people are not optimizing for their brand on the homepage, when that is precisely the page that should be optimized for the brand, is the homepage. Number 2, the brand entity, product or service entity, or topic, or in the broadest sense, what does this company do? And then in the broadest sense, where do they do it? Which means you want to reference, in when possible, the appropriate location entity that covers all of the areas, or includes all of the areas within their service area. So again, as I'm showing you with the tree service sites that I build right now, we do brand on the homepage, then we do category or topic term, and then we do the county, because what I've been, again, as I was explaining earlier, guys, these sites right here are optimized at the homepage level for the county, and all of the service area pages are within that county. And so if I was going to do it at a regional level, let me give you an example. If we come back over here, since we have Wikipedia open, if we go to, let's just say Fairfax County, Virginia. Okay. Fairfax County, Virginia is a county that is in a region known as Northern Virginia. Okay. So let's just go open up this one. So let's say that I had a project where I'm going to be targeting multiple counties. So here's another one. Let's say Loudoun County, Loudoun County. Okay, so these are 2 counties. Loudoun County and Fairfax County are 2 counties that are within the Northern Virginia region. And if you go over here and look at, see, where the hell is it in here? I'd have to scroll through here and find where it lists the counties or whatever. But anyways, there's a list of counties that are included in the Northern Virginia region, and these are 2 of them. Okay, so let's say that I was building a site for a tree service contractor that targeted Loudoun County and Fairfax County, Virginia. Let's just say that was just those two counties that they targeted. Well, those are both counties that fall under the Northern Virginia region. So on the homepage, then, if that were the case, I would want to optimize for Northern Virginia as the location entity, because this is the broadest location entity that includes these other two counties that fall within their service area. Does that make sense? And then in that case, so let me just demonstrate this out. I know we don't have much time left, but I would say Northern Virginia would be because this is the region. And then in this case, I would have a complex silo structure, whether it was in WordPress or high level, it doesn't matter. You could still create it. But I would have another, a page for Loudoun County and a page for Fairfax County. And then in the Loudoun County page, I would reference all of the supporting location pages that are within that county. In the Fairfax County page, I would do the same thing. By the way, where do you get that? Well, the county page, you go to communities right there. Doesn't mean you got to do it for all of these, but I would pick the bigger ones and at least do the supporting location pages there that would fall under the Loudoun County, category, or it would be child pages of the Loudoun County page, if that makes sense. But then, so on the homepage, you always want to optimize for the broadest terms possible, because throughout the pages, the rest of the pages on the site is how you can add more specificity to the specific products or services that you provide, the specific locations in which you provide them. But the homepage should be in the broadest terms possible that are relevant to who the business is, what they do, and where they do it, instead of optimizing the homepage for any one particular keyword. And so that doesn't mean that you always have to have just a Google business category or topic term in the CTA. It means you can make that more like call to action text where it's something compelling. So, for example, if it's an HVAC contractor that does plumbing and electrical as well as HVAC services, then it could say brand HVAC, plumbing and electrical. Then the region, Northern Virginia, or the county, or whatever, right? So that it's not one singular topic term. It's, again, conveying to the world from the homepage who the business is, what they do, and where they do it in the broadest terms possible. Hopefully that's clear. But then, because any inner pages is where you can add specific services, which would be product or service entities, and in specific locations, supporting location pages. Okay, hopefully that's clear, man. I don't know how to be any clearer about that, guys. Then the homepage should be the broadest terms possible, guys, because that should set the stage for the rest of the site. And that's why I recommend not using the homepage as the location landing page URL from the GBP. If it's a service area business, then you should have a supporting location page, on the site that is optimized for the same city that the GBP is located in. Make that the location landing page URL so that the homepage can be broadened up to state that very clearly who the business is, what they do, and where they do it in the broadest terms possible, without it conflicting with the data, how the Google business profile was optimized. Now you have a page that is optimized to mirror or provide agreement with how the GBP is optimized. So the GBP will perform better that way. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. All right. So I've got to move on. I'm going to answer this last question. We'll look at comments, and I'm sorry if I didn't finish the questions here. Lawn care, landscape design, hardscaping, snow removal in the winter months. Hold on, I might just give me 1 second. Each service has its own dedicated page, so it's easy to make them focused on that service. But what would you do for the homepage? I would do exterior contractor or landscape maintenance, something like that. I would have to play around with determining to figure out. See, there was exterior repair. I just did an audit for somebody recently, and I found a new entity that I didn't even know existed. Exterior, is it repair? Not home repair, exterior cleaning, maybe. There was a specific audit. I do so many audits right now. It's hard to keep track of everything. This is for like power washing companies and stuff. Like this is a good one here. But like another one that's very broad is landscape maintenance. This one's really broad. Go take a look at that. Landscape maintenance includes groundskeeping, landscaping, lawn care, tree and shrub pruning, lighting, fencing. Like this is one of the broadest entities right there. So from the homepage for a site, a business like what you're talking about, maybe landscape maintenance is the best. Again, I mean, look at how broad this is, guys. Look at all the services that are included as part of a landscape maintenance topic or entity. So this might be one that you would select, right? These are all, again, go back and look at, I just showed this a minute ago, home improvement. It's another broad one. Home improvement is not the TV series, but this one. It's another broad one that includes, that is synonymous, home improvement is synonymous with home renovation or remodeling. And this is also broad. That's not the same as what you're asking, but it's talking about, look, electrical and plumbing, masonry, concrete, siding, roofing, like, again, interior and exterior. So home improvement, again, another very, very broad topic or entity that is all inclusive. So this might be another one that would be worth testing with. Okay. Moving on. Last one, Mike says, I have a client with 3 hardware stores in a metropolitan area that sells products. They also offer services like grass cutting, snow removal in the area. Their main site is optimized for the stores. For the service area part of their businesses, do they open a separate Google business and a website? I don't know, to be honest with you. I'd have to think through that one a little bit more. I wouldn't create it. I mean, hardware stores that offer services, I don't know. I would probably just, yeah, that's a tricky one. Because the problem is if you try to mix unrelated categories into a GBP, it can sometimes cause a suspension. So like, in other words, if it's optimized for hardware stores or the primary category, just as an example, I don't know if that's an actual category. It probably is. Let's go take a look. That's not it. This is what I was looking for. Yeah, hardware store. So if hardware store is a primary category, then I don't know if adding additional categories like lawn care or lawn service or whatever it is, maybe it's lawn care service. I think it's lawn care service. Yeah, lawn care service and things like that. I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I don't know whether I've not experienced that, so I don't know. The problem is I tried to play around with like doing things like that with other Google business profiles that, like Tree Care HQ, for example, was both a marketing agency and also a tree service. Google didn't like that, so suspended it. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful about mixing unrelated categories in a GBP because it can cause, but in the case of a hardware store that also offers some home improvement or home repair services, then it might make sense to try to mix them. And I'm sure Google is aware that is somewhat related. So that might be different, but I don't know. That's a good question. And I just don't have a good answer for you at the moment. Yeah, because you could potentially have a GBP suspended, but if it did take, then I would prefer to have it on one GBP so that you don't have multiple GBPs to manage, especially with the same name. Because if it's the same business name, then that could cause problems where Google starts to, especially if there's two different Google business profiles, Google could favor one over the other and ghost the other one anyways, and it might not ever perform well, or it could cause both of them to never perform well. So it could cause problems having multiple GBPs. I don't like to have multiple GBPs when I can do it with one, unless I'm trying to cover a broad area and I need more GBPs so that I can cover, get better maps coverage in those specific areas. But other than that, I prefer to have one instead of multiple, even for different service categories, as long as it doesn't create a conflict that could cause a suspension. So I don't know if that was a good answer, probably not, but maybe we'll revisit that one next week when we have a little bit more time.
Looks like we got a couple questions there at the end, if you want to check that out.
Anything else that I need to address? No, very quiet today. Good. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, there at the bottom.
What niche would you classify automatic gates in? Basically the gates you'd see on an acreage with keypads, smart gates made of iron that open when you get to close, when you get close, or when you get close to them automatically, excuse me. There is an entity for that. I don't remember what it is, but you could go look for fence and, probably go access control fencing, as I believe what it's called. There's perimeter fencing, but I believe it's access control. And access control, I think, is the Wikipedia entity. But I think if you do access control fence or access control gate, where you're creating, here's another one. There's perimeter fence. You could also take a look at that one and see By the way, guys, something else you want to look at when you're looking at Wikipedia stuff is also see also. And then also look down here sometimes at the there's kind of like if we go down the fence, maybe you'll see it here. But see also gives you there's electric fence, but that's probably just for like, electrically charged fence. But you could go through here and look at some of the see alsos, and then down here you can oftentimes find additional things too. Perimeter security, maybe that's another one that you could find. But access control, and then let's go in here and just say gate. Whoops. And then create your own topic from two entities, right? So that could be access control gate, right? You'd have to play with that and see, put a page on the site, guys. Like optimize a page on the site with that as the SEO title, right? So I would do that, then location entity, then brand. Okay. Semantic triplet statement and the SEO title, who the business is, or in this case, what they do, where they do it, who the business is, and go publish a page on that site and submit it to Search Console for indexing, and then just go search for access control gate or whatever the normal keyword is that you think that whatever the search query data shows you that is the keyword that people search for that kind of a service, and see, is this page ranked for that search query? Does that make sense? So that this is creating two separate, taking two separate entities and combining them to make a topic. And you could do that, play around with them. That's what I did with tree maintenance, right? It was two separate entities. I just put it together and found, voila, like there's something I learned that I had no idea about. Just wondering what type of links to build to it, like niche relevant, aside from other gate websites, etc. Niche relevant links. And again, you can determine that from analyzing the top ranked competitors pages and getting the Google business categories, or Google's natural language categories that are identified on the top ranked pages for the search queries for that particular type of service. And then go looking at Google's natural language API to identify those natural language categories, and then match that up with topical trust flow categories for Majestic. And that'll give you kind of the topical categories that are relevant to that for getting links. And this is, I'll put this in chat. Just go to TTF as in topicaltrustflow.semanticlinks.io. That's not the right one. And you can also see this. Where the hell is chat? There it is. But there's a list of the topical trust flow categories. So once you get Google's natural language categories for the top ranked pages for the search query around those that particular term, then you can find the topical categories according to Google, match up or topical trust flow categories, and know those are the categories you should be getting links from. But also geographic links will help for local projects, guys. Geographic links from other geographically relevant sources are going to help that to perform better too. All right. Good enough. We're only 8 minutes late.
Woo!
Thanks, everybody. We got a mastermind webinar in the mastermind tomorrow, so I'll see some of you there. Otherwise, we'll see everybody else next week. Don't forget to sign up for DHA application.